Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Rod. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being here with us. We had a severe internet glitch in the beginning. Our complete internet service in the area went down. Well, it suddenly came up, I guess, 30 minutes prior into the show. We're going to still have our full 1 hour show. So you have not lost anything, my friends. You have not lost anything. We are going to have the show for the duration. Again, we don't know what's happening. We don't know why the internet went down. We don't know all these things, but it doesn't matter because we are here. We're going to have a great show for you today. If I'm a bit frazzled in the beginning, it's simply because, again, as we tried to get the internet up, we went ahead and tried all kinds of things, including using cellular, but I guess the internet problem was likely through the entire area. Not to sweat it, however. We are here. So today's subject at hand is titled, Why Are Trump's Polls Up? Yeah, Trump's polls are up. The second topic, and I think they should really bleed into each other, is pretty much good can come from coronavirus if we allow it. And a lot of people, sometimes they sit down and like, what the hell are you talking about? People are dying. People are hurting. Yes, they are. But you know what? We can actually use this because, folks, our economy is in shambles. We can actually use this for a better good. We can use this for better good. Lawrence Sims, yes, we worked it out. Actually, it's not like we worked it out. It's more like it worked out on its own via the internet company. You know, we had when we called the internet company to find out exactly why are we not able to broadcast to YouTube, broadcast to all these other things. They said, okay, we have right now a 20-minute hold, and I'm like, oh my God, 20-minute hold. And as that was happening, we continued to play and recycle the modems with the hope that it would go through, and luckily the hope went through, and we got this stuff going. Anyhow, so we're going to have a great show as I cycle and get all these different channels up and running. We are going to have a great show. Anyhow, title of the show: Why are Trump polls up? Good can come from coronavirus, but good can only come from the coronavirus if we allow it. In other words, yes, it can happen, but we must allow it. So what exactly does this mean? Trump polls numbers are more than steady. They are actually rising. And I really think we ought to look at that. His polls are, in fact, rising. And why do you think that's the case? Come on, folks, ponder that. Why are his polls rising? Anybody have any ideas? Why? Drop me a note and tell me why he's rising. Anyhow, Trump poll numbers are more than steady. They are rising. Let's discuss that and why it is possible to create. Why is it possible to create a positive out of the coronavirus epidemic? We are going to have to do things differently, folks. We're going to have to start thinking outside of the box. We're going to have to start saying to ourselves, we have got to change things for ourselves. That's pretty much what we're going to have to do. And it's not going to be easy at all. It's going to be very, very, very difficult because the incumbent has a whole lot of powers at their disposal. And for those who think it's going to, for those of you who listened to me several weeks back, several months back, I said it was going to be almost impossible for Donald Trump to win if we put up the kind of candidate I thought we would put up. What I mean is an Elizabeth Warren or a Bernie Sanders. I knew that Americans were in such dire straits that if they saw a change, if they saw that their lives were going to change in such a manner that it was substantive, in such a manner that they could see the end of the tunnel, and it's not just, well, I better stay with what I have now because I know what I have. If Americans saw that, they are ready. They are ready to jump ship. Hello, Lee Grant. Welcome aboard. Sorry we're late today. So now that we have a status quo candidate, or I shouldn't say now that we have a status quo candidate, now that is likely that we are going to have a status quo candidate, many Americans are falling back because they see. I don't know anybody watching me right now. Did you see Biden's press conference yesterday? Yesterday or the day before? I don't remember which one. These days kind of run into each other. Anybody saw the press conference? I really would love to see anybody who saw the press conference without wearing colored glasses. I would like to know what you really, really thought about it, because I can tell you what I thought about it. And this is not because I am a Sanders supporter, not because I am a Warren supporter, not because I'm a Yang supporter, means that I cannot be objective as I watch other candidates, whether they be Joe Biden or anybody else. I can still be objective, and I was objective. And what concerned me most is not only the slight incoherency, but the snap, the teleprompter mistakes, the way he answers questions. They were just not what I think if he goes on to a debate stage with Donald Trump would put him in such, the things that Bernie could have done at that last debate to really get Biden in a frazzle, but he didn't do it. Bernie Sanders didn't do it because he doesn't want to be a spoiler. He wants to win if the people make him win. He don't want to win by simply pulling down Biden, which is unnecessary, right? If Biden is going to be holding the bag for Democrats, the last thing you want to do is have another Democrat really pull him down. As much as I speak about him, if you notice, I make sure that when we talk about Biden, it's not in a manner that is something that, anything worse than what Donald Trump would say or anything of that nature. And if you look at the way Sanders went about it, Sanders didn't make that mistake and really tear him up to that extent either. So, but anyhow, so going back to the polls, his numbers are up. You know what I want to do? Let me go ahead and show you guys this poll, because as it turns out, when you see this, you're going to really notice that this is not some accident or something like that. Take a look at this. Let me go ahead and put the poll on the screen. If you take a look at, where are you, screen? There we go. There we go. Okay. President Trump's polls at 49%. There it is on the screen. And it says, President Donald Trump may be enjoying a small rally in public support as the nation faces the COVID-19 pandemic. 49% of U.S. adults, up from 44% earlier this month, approved of the job Trump is doing as president. Trump also had 49% approval rating, the best of his presidency, in late January and early February, around the time the Senate impeachment trial that resulted in acquittal. There are two different dynamics that happen there, right? The first dynamic is that he won the impeachment battle in that he was not impeached. And for those who are not very well schooled in all the things that occurred in that impeachment, they figured, oh, he must be innocent. Bam, his poll number goes up by a few people who just said, oh, he got off, just like what happened with Clinton. But then people started to realize exactly who the guy, that it wasn't quite an acquittal per se, that it was just they didn't have enough people to convict. But that said, this kind of a rise that he has with the COVID-19 is a bit different. Because what a lot of folks don't see is what's going on in the alternate media. In the mainstream media, yes, some of these people called Trump out for his lies. They call him out for all these things. But you know what a large percentage of people don't do? A large percentage of people don't watch mainstream media. A lot of people out there are watching this type of media, independent media, by all sides. And the side that's winning the independent media battle right now is not our side. The left in the independent media is not winning the battle. We have a few big ones. TYT, is the biggest one of our independent medias. And then we have the little ones, the medium-sized ones, that are print only. We have the Common Dreams and these others. And then you have the independent shows like Politics Done Right, and you have a few others that are really, really trying to make it to keep people informed. But the majority of the monies, the majority of the income, if you take a look on Facebook and you take a look at the paid ads on Facebook and the particular throughput of the folks, and here's the issue with the problem with Facebook a lot of times, and I need you to understand this because people don't understand why this is the case. I need you to understand this. Facebook has an interesting algorithm, right? Facebook tries to give you the things that you are most likely to want and absorb. Well, Donald Trump has a floor of about 44% of people that want his material. And Facebook knows who those people are. So they all get continuous bombardment by the entire Trump intelligentsia. They get all his material. They get all his lies. And the stuff that they get is plausible. I read them because I get right-wing stuff as well. In fact, a lot of the messages that the way it works is as follows. The Trump people send out blogs of different sizes, blogs that are ready-made. That goes to independent bloggers that are supporting the cause. Those independent bloggers go out and put all those blogs that comes sanctioned by the Trump machine. When they are sanctioned by the Trump machine, they all put these in thousands of blogs, right? And by the way, all these blogs are then supported by the machine. So if I decided that I wanted to be a right-wing blogger, I could be rich. Because what would happen then is that support would come from the machine for all these blogs that go out there that I get as well, right? I get the blogs to put on my site. I never put them on my site, of course. But that is what happens. And above and beyond the blogs, we also get the exponential increase in the data by Trump's teams buying a whole lot of Facebook ads, Twitter ads, and all these different ads in a lot of different forms coming from a lot of different blogs so that it doesn't look like it's one person putting it out. The reason you don't see it is if you are on Facebook, if you're listening to me on Facebook and you're a regular here with me on Facebook, you are likely getting most of your data that you like. Data, left, middle, and that's what they send you most of the time. Every now and then a Trump stuff may slip in, right? They may open, when they're targeting under Facebook, they may go ahead and open the window a bit to see if they can hold on and trap a lot of people, but they don't want to open it too wide to get to the very liberal folks who would then write material to directly counteract the programming that they're doing to their people. All of this is science. This is all internet science. And that is how they're doing it. No, Lee Grant, this isn't conspiracy theory. Because of how I do things, I get it on both sides. I get the data on both sides. So here's the deal. Like I said, the left, in our very, I don't want to say elitist way, but because we know truth always reigns, right? We don't necessarily support these if you take a look at Common Dreams, and you take a look at Daily Kos, and you take a look at Op-Ed News, you look at Politics Done Right, it seems like we're always saying, hey guys, support us, support us, support us. If you look at even Raw Story, the owner of Raw Story, a good friend of mine, you see these guys are constantly saying, hey, support us, support us, support us. We need your support to move on. But take a look at the right-wing sites. They have a little donate button, and they may every now and then put out a little message that say, hey, support us. But they don't need to do that. They don't need to bother you to say, hey, support us, because they are supported. Okay? They are supported. I am not going Alex Jones on you, Brother Grant. You know me better than that, Grant. That's why you're here all the time, brother. You know that what I'm saying. And as much as you are conservative, super conservative, you know that I don't just create stuff for the sake of creating stuff. I've been talking about this for a while. The reason I'm bringing this up is that when I saw the poll numbers today, I wanted to let our people, including you, you're my people too, know exactly why Trump numbers seem so steady and now rising. It's not happening by accident. Okay? It does not happen by accident. There is a science behind this, and I'll put it bluntly. Our Democratic side is very old school, and that is the reason why they have look, in the right they have Trump because Trump used his marketing skills to get on. But Trump's team is a very young team that knows social media, knows internet very, very well. And they can make somebody who is not very likable plausible. And that is what they've done. So this is not going to change. And this is what, when I told you guys that it's almost impossible for a Democrat to lose in November, I meant all things being equal. And right now they're not. I spend all day on the internet, on all sites, from Red State, all these other sites I spend a lot of time on. And the one thing you can, and let me just show you guys if you doubt what I'm saying. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and show you Red State, okay? Let me back up here because this is important. A lot of people need to understand what's going on here because they don't quite redstate.com. This is one of the premier sites on them, right? Look at the front of this site. Clean. You don't see it asking for much. Does it even have a donate button? I don't know. This is one of their main medias, and all they do here is give you information that is spun on the right side. Okay? This is spun on the right side. Very, very plausible. The things sound very real. So so when people look at this, they say, "Oh, this looks like real news," and it does. You may see a few. Let me see. I don't even know if you have ads, but Red State. This is Red State for you. But let's take a look at Common Dreams now. Notice this. You don't see any superimposing things saying, "Okay, please make sure and support us." You see a few Ring Central ads, etc. Now, if we go to the left now, we go to Common Dreams. Common Dreams is a site that has very, very good stories, well written, well sourced. All right? You come to this stuff, and you go to one of their stories, and they have their subscribe button, donate button. At the end of the story, they ask you, please, please, please make sure and support us. PayPal, ActBlue, card. We can go to Daily Kos sends out millions of emails every day. Give us $5. Give us $3. Because that is the only way it stays. If we go to App Ed News, and by the way, I donate to each of these particular sites. I'm a subscriber to each of these sites because I use a lot of their material. I read a lot of their material. I contribute to a lot of their material, and so I give them data. I give them stories. I give them articles, but also that they have to stay in business. So check this out. You go here, and it's the same thing. It's about please provide this information. Once you log into here, that's what they do. They ask you for support. And the reason why, again, is because you go to Daily Kos. Daily Kos does most of theirs. Well, the reason you don't see any ads here is that I'm logged in. If I log out, then you'll see what if I log out of the thing, then you'll see it's a different. There we go. It comes up right away and it asks you to do something when you're logged out. But anyhow, so that when you look at why is Donald Trump's rating high? Donald Trump's rating is high because they have a well-oiled infrastructure and their folks support the platforms that keep them ahead. It's a lot less of them than us. There are a lot more of us. We're not as wealthy. We're just not as wealthy as they are. We don't have the corporate dollars coming in as they do. Anyhow, I just wanted to kind of give, people see that. And by the way, if you want to see the trajectory, right? Here's the trajectory of Donald Trump. If you take a look, the steadiness is amazing. This is his 2009 trajectory right there, as you can see. Anywhere between 37 and 45 in 2019. But look at what happens in 2020. His low is 44. His high, 49. So don't sit down there and not believe that Donald Trump is not on an increase in his performance. And the reason why, again, is a steady and continued mastication of the data. They go out there and they know exactly what they have to do, and they also know how to micro-target to pick up the areas that they need to pick up on. And if we as progressives don't understand that, and if we as progressives don't have a narrative that can trump this micro-targeting and all these types of issues that you see on the screen. And for those of you who are listening on podcast, what I'm showing here on the podcast is in his first year, he's in the probably averaging in the very low, in the very high 30s. In the second year, low, middle 40s. And now, there we go. Network's down. But I'm going to keep on with the show, even though the network went down again. Anyhow, so if you take a look at what's going on with the show, then you see why Donald Trump is high. Now, continuing. Folks, that is the reason why you see Donald Trump's performance very high. But anyhow, I wrote a little piece today about why it is that we can find something good out of the coronavirus. But before I go there, I want to remind everybody who our coronavirus heroes need to be. Garbage collectors, postal workers, nurses, doctors, medical personnel, grocery store employees, firefighters, police officers who don't murder or disrespect POCs, utility workers, repair persons, delivery persons, and all of those out there that I've probably forgotten to mention. Those of us who are fortunate to stay home owes you life-saving gratitude. You deserve hazard pay. Rest assured, the politics done right posse will continue pushing for social, racial, economic, and legal justice. Anyhow, folks, as you probably know by now, the coronavirus $2 trillion stimulus agreement was reached. And from NBC News, we got the bill is also expected to include roughly $100 billion in assistance for hospital, $350 billion in assistance for small businesses, $500 billion in aid for corporations, including airline companies and cruise lines that have been hurt by the outbreak, and about $150 billion for state and local stimulus funds. Unemployment insurance would be also significantly bolstered to increase payments and extend the benefit to those who typically do not qualify, such as gig economy workers, furloughed employees, and freelancers. McConnell introduced this Republican proposal Thursday evening, giving lawmakers less than a week to negotiate a deal, draft legislation text, and schedule a vote. Negotiations, however, came to a head over how much additional employment insurance could be extended, as well as aid for distressed corporations. Schumer said the initial Republican plan would not dedicate enough money to hospitals, and he called for a Marshall Plan for the healthcare system. Folks, I also gave you in the same blog, the blog for this show, some coronavirus resources, specifically the World Health Organization, Johns Hopkins University in Medicine, and Harvard Health. I have links directly to the coronavirus pages on all of those. Anyhow, folks, good can well, before I do that, I want to play something for you. Let's see here if I think I queued that up for what I want to show you, right, is Donald Trump usually tells everybody that he can find, usually says, this stimulus package or whatever package it is that he's fighting for, that he's trying to push out there, this is for the people. That's what he always says, right? Well, it turns out, not quite. Check this out, this little interview that he did with, check out this little interview that he did with, who did he do this with? Fox News. Check this out. Trump likes to tell tell us all the times, these stimulus packages, all these things that he's doing, it's for the people. Remember when he did the tax cut scam, he had everybody believing it was for the people, but of course, most of it went to corporations. Well, you know, on Fox News, he kind of came clean. We got to be proud of the president for coming clean. Check this out.
Now take a look, brand new, at what Donald Trump told Fox News about the purpose of the bill.
It's loaded to save corporations. We'll have an unemployment rate the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. We have to save these companies.
The markets, meanwhile, have been snapping back from lows on this economic rescue package. Meanwhile, today, Bill Gates, who knows his way around the economy, offering a stark warning for people who want to rush too fast to do what Trump is asking.
So in other words, are you telling me that its most important portion about that is stacked towards the corporations? That's what he said. That's what he said. I'm Egberto Willies. Okay, folks, so as you can see, not quite, right? Not quite was that his first intent. His first intent, it is clear, was make sure that to make the corporations whole. The second part of the show that I'm going to talk about, gonna pinpoint what I really want to say. This is the time that we as American citizens, we as voters, ought to use to make sure that as we reinflate this economy, we don't just do it the way it has always been done, because the way it has always been done has always meant more and more and less and less, more and more for corporations and the small amount of people who are the executives with these corporations, what I call the guardians of the gates, and just a little for the people at large. But anyhow, here we go now with what I want to show you with respect to going back to work. Check this out. People who are responsible for indoctrinating the good people in the right wing are generally operating in concert. And it was kind of ironic yesterday when I did the blog showing Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. He pretty much said old people are indispensable. In other words, let's go back to work, because old people, we sure don't want to destroy the economy, because this virus is probably tougher on them. But then we, of course, had Mnuchin saying, when Nancy Pelosi made a comment about we have a responsibility and we should listen to some of the words of the Pope. And Mnuchin said, well, you may listen to the Pope. I'm listening to the market. Like I said, the right wing operates in sequences. And not only do they operate in sequences, their indoctrination engine is sort of like a huge echo chamber. Everybody's saying the same things. Everybody's on the same wavelength. So we had Mnuchin talking about markets, and the most important thing is the markets. We have the president coming out talking about we have to get back to work. We have to open the economy. He wants to do it by Easter. And it continues. Now we have Glenn Beck in his system. Check out what he had to say.
Well, hello, America, and welcome to the program. I sincerely hope that we are not at a place as Americans to where we are going to let the Democrats jam down the Green New Deal because we're at home panicked. I want to have a frank conversation with you and ask you where you stand. I'm in the danger zone. I'm right at the edge. I'm 56. In Italy, they're saying if you're sick and you're 60, don't even come in. So I'm in the danger zone. I would rather have my children stay home and all of us who are over 50 go in and keep this economy going and working. Even if we all get sick, I'd rather die than kill the country, because it's not the economy that's dying, it's the country. And I'll show you just what's happening to us just by looking at the talks with the stimulus right now. We have that coming up in 1 minute.
I want you guys to notice something. And notice the ages that he's talking about. He's saying, hey, people 50 and above. We know that the stuff really has a very strong impact on people older than 60-something, 70, if you're not very healthy. A lot of this has to do with people having pre-existing conditions. But the psychology that's going on here is start telling these 50-year-olds, go back to work. You can go back to work, because at the age of 50, people, they get more responsible. Notice the kids were still on the beach. The kids on the beach don't care about Corona. They'll go to work. They'll do whatever. They don't care. You notice he said 50. That was a magical number, 50, because he knows those people are saying, I need to take care of myself. I need to not get sick right now. And what they want to do is put in those people's heads, go to work, irrespective of what happened, go to work. This is so evil. It's sort of a mind control. It's sort of a using these people's right-wing ideology, people who believe they have right-wing ideology. I'll be frank. Most right-wingers, I like them. They're my friends as well. They live in my community. I look at much of what they have sometimes as, my God, how can you have yourself be consumed by an ideology that is designed to hurt you, is designed to extract from you? Folks, it's a concerted effort right from the top in right wing to get folks moving, to start setting it up that irrespective of what happens, go back to work. Let's treat coronavirus like it's a common cold, like it's a flu. That is evil. Be careful and informed. Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. Anyhow, I sent out my newsletter today. And, you know, I used to send a newsletter out every day and put a link to the programs. But like I've been talking to you guys about, I have been so busy. One of the reasons why the book is so behind is there are just not enough hours in the day. And I really was hoping to have some more time by now to start doing more than cutting my own videos, writing all these blogs, doing all the research, and at the same time getting the book done. It's just been a lot. Plus having my daughter who had a stroke, it took me another month or so to kind of get my head straight around her recovery, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been difficult, but I'm starting to get a better arrangement. It's still 16-hour days, but I'm getting a better arrangement because you know what? All of us are doing things, man. Even those of you that are listening to me, we're all a part of this game, right? We're all a part of trying to make things better. So, you know, the reason I'm making an excuse for why I don't have my book out, and I'm making an excuse for why certain other things aren't done. Just want to let you know that the excuse is real, but as things get arranged a little bit differently, we may be able to extract a little bit more time. Like there are things that I'm working with. I just got a new remote service that I can actually build a program in pieces in different areas so that I have, you know, to make it more efficient. I'm working on doing things like that to see if I can earn another hour a day that I can do some writing. If I can get another hour a day, I can write that, and in an hour I can write 10, 15 pages. So anyhow, we're working on that right now. But before I go, before I continue with the program, I think we're more than halfway done. I need to come to you and say, folks, please do remember that this is a program that needs your support. Please go to store.politicsdoneright.com. Again, that is store.politicsdoneright.com and support our program. There are many other ways that you can support the program as well. You can go ahead and provide support by going to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. And it's right there on the screen right now, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. You can also, if you want to provide a contribution, you can go to paypal.me/politicsdoneright. Again, that's paypal.me/politicsdoneright. Alternatively, you can go to, if you want to support our equipment fund, you can go to gofundme.com/independent-media-upgrade. Again, that is gofundme.com/independent-media-upgrade. Then back again, of course, you can go to store.politicsdoneright.com. As we show the program on the screen, all of this is scrolled. So, I mean, it's scrolled continuously for how to get to our YouTube, how to get to our Twitch, how to get to all those things. And of course, you can support us by getting the book, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Okay, continuing with the program. Thank you so kindly for indulging me on that. But of course, we also need to fund our stuff so that we can actively compete in the political ring of ideas. Anyway, I sent out my mailer today, the newsletter. I'm going to try to do the newsletter at least 5 times a week. Right now, the newsletter, I don't know. I think I missed I missed a week or something like that. But I'm going to try to fit that into the schedule that I can build a newsletter every day, or at least 5 days a week. But here it goes. The title of the little sub essay that I put in there was called "Good Can Come from Coronavirus If We Allow It," and it goes as follows. Harris County, where Houston resides, was officially placed under coronavirus lockdown tonight. That was last night. I think given that was occurring throughout the country, this was expected. The truth is, this lockdown put my mind at ease knowing that our leaders were taking the pandemic as seriously as many of us thought they should. First of all, it is important that we give condolences to the families of all of those throughout the world who lost their loved ones to the novel virus, to this novel virus, coronavirus. We must not allow the passing of these good people to go in vain. We should not allow the good passing of these people to go in vain. Make no mistake, coronavirus has changed America forever. Anybody who doesn't see that yet, they will see that. And let me digress here. You cannot stop every business of consequence, every restaurant that doesn't do takeout, every restaurant not configured in that manner is likely going to be out of business, if not forever, for a long time. If you don't understand that if you are staying home, all the businesses that you would have gone to, and a lot of people don't realize all the businesses they go to. You go buy a card at a store. You go to buy a sandwich at some of these sandwich shops that don't do delivery. You go and you buy you go to the movie theater and you get your popcorn and you get your sodas, right? Now, all of those businesses, that's not the only person that when you don't go to the theater, when you don't go to the movie theater, it's not just that movie theater that is deprived of business, right? That movie theater used to buy popcorn from another company. It used to buy sodas from another company. It used to buy M&Ms from another company. And all these theaters, etc., are no longer buying from those companies. Yeah, a lot of those companies are centralized distributors. Well, they're not being serviced anymore. So they may not lose all their business because there are few restaurants that are still working. Hospitals still have to make meals for people. Some schools are still delivering meals to people. So they're still making some money, but a lot of the money they're not making. Now, the grocery stores are cleaning up, right? Because everybody's at home and they're eating more at home. But that extra value into the economy from circulating money to the waiter, to the cook, to all these people are out of jobs and they are not themselves spending as much money at the grocery store, at the baker, at the store to buy a shirt or whatever. So all of that activity is gone. What that means is those companies who used to import that stuff from Taiwan, they used to import that stuff from Appalachia, they used to import all these things, they're no longer having to import it because they're not selling it. This is a cascading effect in motion. One of the things that's panicking Donald Trump, why he wants to open the economy up before the pandemic is over, is because he understands what's going on, which he's rightfully concerned. And this is not something for any of us to be happy about because it's a lot of pain for a lot of people. And the only one that can alleviate that pain at this point in time is the government, we the people, because we have the ability to create currency for whatever is needed now. The people that will suffer the most are, let's say, when I say suffer the most, I'm talking now financially, are those people who are dependent on you, right? The executive finally found out that they are nothing without you. The shareholder of these companies are finding out they're nothing but you. And that is why it was so easy for them to give everybody $1,200. And you know what? They're likely going to give more because that is what they need to do to reinflate the economy, and those businesses need to be reinflated. I'm going to stop with that narrative there and continue with the pros. Make no mistake, coronavirus has changed America forever. The question of what kind of America will come after this catastrophe? The phrase, make lemonade out of lemons, is apropos. A divided Congress came to 3 stimulus agreements in less than a month. Think about that. A Congress that can never get along. They came out with 3 stimulus. Or do you say stimuli? 4. 3 of them in less than a month. These were mammoth amounts of money never expended before in bills like this. Congress acted this fast because it was clear that America had no circuit breakers for all the chaos caused by that little virus. It had the capability to overrun our healthcare system, our economic system, our supply chain, and much more. That one little virus. In an economy that matters, in an economy that's designed well, that would just be another factor within the economy, but I digress. Congress developed the will to invest in corporations, small businesses, and to a very small extent in the most individual Americans. Unfortunately, this investment is solely for temporary comfort, the maintenance of the status quo, the current modus operandi. That's all they're doing. Maintaining the status quo, maintaining the current modus operandi. They're holding time. We're going to keep things exactly the way they were. We just need to put a little bit of primer in there till we can start. Get that coronavirus out of your bodies, and then we can start doing things exactly as we did before. But good can come from the coronavirus catastrophe. We saw Congress develop the will to save sectors in 2008. Again, we see the same in 2020. Activists understood for decades that despite the fiscal austerity preachers' utterances, we could always create the resources to invest in every aspect of our economy without any penalty of inflation, as long as there was not manufactured scarcity of resources and products. What do I mean by that? The only reason you don't want to print a whole bunch of money to inflate an economy is if you have something that's scarce. Let me give you an example. If for some reason we allowed, everybody had unlimited money, everybody would run and buy a very expensive car, but we could not produce the amount of cars if everybody wanted to have 2 or 3 cars. So what would immediately happen to car prices is they would go all the way up because there would be a lot of people chasing one car. But if you don't have a lot of people chasing one car, but you don't have the means to sell cars, throw the money in the chain and say, okay, here's money, go buy a car. People say, oh, that it doesn't, to the average way people think, right? To them, because of how they were programmed, that simply doesn't make any sense. But it does. It does. Money is just a mean of exchange of something. And if you go ahead and not just give it for somebody who doesn't do anything, you put some limits on how you get monies to people. But you can have an economy based, especially with with supercomputers. We can actually calculate all these things, how much money a particular job needs to get. There are a lot of and again, I am just putting this on the high, talking about this at the high level. There are a lot of economists much smarter than I am that can actually say how these things would work. And there are a lot. The problem is right now we still are under the influence of the Chicago boys. Read Disaster Economics, or I don't remember, Disaster Capitalism or something like that, and you can understand what we're talking about. But anyhow, Again, we see the same in 2020. Activists understood for decades that despite the fiscal austerity preachers preach utterances, we could always create the resources to invest in every aspect of our economy without any penalty of inflation, as long as there was not manufactured scarcity of resources and products. I want to remind you guys of something. Remember that oil crisis? Some of you are never heard of the oil crisis. I know you're very young. You're in your 20s, 30s. But the oil crisis, I was a kid then. I remember in the 70s. I was a real kid. And I remember the oil embargo. And immediately the prices went through the roof for oil, right? And then all through the rest of the years, I think the oil companies learned something there, right? They could create manufactured scarcity to keep the price of oil high. So they were, while they may complain about OPEC, they didn't mind when OPEC had high oil or restricted oil, because that means Texas oil went up in price too. And they made a lot more money without using up a whole bunch of their reserve. We got to understand that the way the system is, a lot of our scarcity is manufactured. When you go ahead and have to pay $1 or $2 for water, when you pay $1 or $2 for water, when water is, we are surrounded by water, and I guarantee you, filtrating salt out of water or impurities out of water doesn't come out to $1 a gallon. Okay? Using that word again, manufactured scarcity and evil capitalism is what causes you to spend $1 or $2 for a gallon of water. And it comes from that tenet again that says, whatever the market will bear. Anyhow, continuing. Progressives' policies that many politicians claim are too expensive. Progressive policies that many politicians claim are too expensive and cannot be paid for must be in the good that we take from this pandemic. That must be the good that we take from this pandemic. Let me explain. When you take out $250,000 loan for a home, the home itself is the instantiation of that paper. In other words, somebody give $250,000 that you promised to pay back, but that house that gets built is also $250,000. So they cancel out, and eventually, because of the way things work, the appreciation, there's a good chance that house appreciates in value. There's a little bit more technicalities that I don't need to go into, whereas even though that money was created for the loan, it still existed, but we're not going to go into all of that. When you take out a $250,000 loan, there's really nothing that changes, because that house represents that $250,000. Why is it? Or let me just read what I wrote. When we invest in Medicare for all, child care, tuition-free college, the more productive humans who evolve from having said policies invest in them is the instantiation of that paper. What do I mean by that? A cultured kid, a person, a human being that you've invested good health care into, that you've invested good knowledge into, that you have invested child care into, comes out to be, in the aggregate, there are exceptions, but in the aggregate, a well-rounded person that is ready to provide services to society at a much higher level than somebody who's left to frail. And so it's an investment. You invest these things in people, the outcome that you get is of so much value. It's the paper that represent said investment. So when they say, how much is that going to cost? I like to say, how much are you going to profit from that investment in that person in the aggregate? You see, we all ask the questions in the wrong manner. We ask, how much is that going to cost all these taxpayers? My statement is, how much is it going to save the taxpayer of the future, and how much is that person who we've cultivated going to pay in taxes? That's the real question, or that's the real statement. But we have to be the ones who start to teach people these things. We are the ones who have to start convincing people to get out of the trap that the Powell Manifesto has put them into, that our indoctrination since the inception of this country has put them into. We have to get out of that. We must think outside of the box and not allow an old man-made economic system to restrict the possibility of an economic system for our times. Our economic system is in shambles. It is one that is unstable, that takes out a lot of people with its constant crashes. The destructive nature of coronavirus allows us to rebuild differently. To do things, we must educate all of us. To do all of this, we've got to get all of us educated. We have got to start having our message out there. We have got to invest in truth in such a manner that when the right-wing bots get out there, and bots, I mean both bots and human bots get out there, that we are ready to refute them, that we can educate folks in such a logical manner that they sit back and say, wow, we should have known that. Why didn't they teach us that? Why didn't we know that? Look, folks, our economic system is in shambles. It is one that is unstable, that takes out a lot of people because it crashes a lot. The destructive nature of coronavirus allows us to rebuild differently. To do this, we must re-educate all of us. Politics Done Right intends to do its small part, among others, to humbly enlighten us all on the possibilities. We must no longer allow a select few to decide our futures. We can build a path to our own destiny. So please, 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 be a part of it, including joining us, including, hell, subscribe to Politics Done Right. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Let's start helping each other put the message out. Let's start helping each other preach the word, the truth. Because you know what? If we allow America to reinflate itself in the old model, if when we come back from this coronavirus, when we come back, and folks, it's not going to be a fast comeback. Don't believe anything Trump is saying. It's not going to be a fast comeback. If we allow ourselves to believe or come back in the same way that we left, we would have deserved exactly what the corporatocracy, the plutocracy, the oligarchy is going to do to us. Because let me tell you what the oligarchy is going to do. They are going to lose 3, 4, 5, 6 months of business. They're going to lose several months of appreciation of their capital. In fact, they've lost a lot of their monies in the depreciation of their capital. And they want it back. They want it back. And you know what? They are going to do whatever is necessary to get it back. So what I want to tell you guys is we have to do this on our own. We have to spend this time that the rebuilding is going to take, and we have an election in between. We have to first start electing progressives, but the right kind of progressives. The forward thinkers. Those who don't sit back and believe in neoliberalism. Those who don't sit back and believe that capital has some preeminence. Those who start to realize that the most important thing is to think human being first. And how do you elaborate? How do you create an environment around that human being? How do you build a business environment, an economic environment around that human being? Were the first questions we ask. How is implementing this economic policy going to affect human beings? I went on a show, several shows, happened several times. And every time I talk about my progressive values and the things that I want to see happen for the average person, the first question that always comes, how will that affect business? And I always throw the question right back. How will that affect your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, the candlestick maker, how will that affect them? Human beings before business. Human beings before the corporation. Human beings first. When we start thinking that way, which better be now because we are in the process of rebuilding. When we start thinking that way, I promise you, we will elect the right people. Not only will we elect the right people, we'll start passing laws that inoculate us from the plutocracy. And in fact, in the long run, there will be no plutocracy. In the long run, we'll continue and have a real meritocracy where your works determine your wealth. Right now, the wealthiest people in this world are the ones who do the least work. Everybody else works for them. That is not earned wealth. That is wealth that is stolen from others. And it is a hard concept to grasp when we have been taught to learn to revere those who have been able to become billionaires. And I always ask you, take you through the steps of what made you a billionaire. An economic system that says, if I can create stocks to turn your company into a bunch of little pieces and sell it and get that to appreciate, I can make a lot of money. Not you, but I do. I mean, there's a whole lot to learn here, folks, and that's the intent of Politics Done Right. Folks, I thank you so kindly for listening to me. Please don't forget to become members. Go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right, patreon.com/Politics Done Right. This is Politics Done Right. You know how I end this baby? I am what? You know how I end this baby? I am what? Out. I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics Done Right, an independent news program. I post several news videos of interest every day. I ask you so kindly to subscribe to my channel, and please leave me some comments. Thank you very much.